Hey everybody, it's Shamika. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. I'm actually going to take you through a tutorial on how or what you should look for on Credit Karma. A lot of people use Credit Karma, but a lot of you have no idea what you're looking at. So I am going to take it upon myself to go through it, show you everything that they have going on as it pertains to credit, and we're going to grow together. All right, so tune in. Here we go. First of all, let me show you something, or let me tell you something about Credit Karma really quick. So Credit Karma is like any other company. Their job is to market things to you, to sell things to you so that they can make money. All right. So whenever you see the suggested credit cards that they offer to you, please do not think that they're suggesting you these credit cards because they are your friends, because they are not. They are suggesting you these credit cards because Credit Karma makes money from clicks. They also make money from if you were to actually apply for this card and get approved. Okay. So I would tell you, if you are applying for the cards that they list here, that is okay, but your approval odds need to look better than good. All right. There's no sense of risking a inquiry on your credit just for good. Good means maybe a 50-50 chance, and I'm not taking a 50-50 chance. If it is not this bar here or this bar, I would not apply. And if you're asking, how is it that they know to send me these suggestions? Well, you can't see it on Credit Karma, but if you were to pull your credit report from the actual credit bureaus, you will see a section under inquiries where it says promotional inquiries. A lot of those promotional inquiries are from companies who have taken upon themselves to take a sneak peek into your credit. You know they did not get your permission, but because you're already a customer with them, I'm sure somewhere down in the fine print, they have gotten you to authorize them the option to do promotional inquiries every once in a while to see if you would possibly qualify for one of their credit cards, which is how they end up coming over here in your suggestions. Okay. All right, so that is just this suggestion area here. Of course, you know they're on the whole tax return thing. We're not talking about that because that has nothing to do with your credit. This also shows you the last time that you checked your credit. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I definitely think you should check your credit at least once a week. No, that does not mean that you're stressing over your credit, but things change and happen so fast. You can apply for a credit card and get an inquiry on your credit report 5 minutes later. Okay. So I definitely want to know what's going on with my credit. So if I'm not checking Credit Karma or one of the credit bureaus once a day or once a week, then something's obviously wrong. And I think that you should too. Okay. Here it shows you how many active accounts, meaning these are the accounts that are currently open, and you can do business on, or they're actively reporting. Okay. So now Credit Karma, I do like that they have made some changes. Now they let you know the dates that they update. Before, you didn't know when they were going to update. At least now it lets you know the dates that it's going to update. It will say like next update 3 days and next update a week or something like that. So this is good to know when it was last updated, because if I'm not mistaken, they update like once a week now. So I know that this means in a couple more days, this individual can go and check their credit to see if any changes. Now let's clear up the inaccuracies of Credit Karma versus regular credit bureaus. So Credit Karma is 100% accurate when it comes to the information that you see reporting, because this information is drip fed from TransUnion and from Equifax, the actual companies, into TransUnion, so that you actually can see your reports. Now, it is not as detailed as an actual credit report that you would actually get from these bureaus. And the reason why is because they're not going to give somebody else the opportunity to take away money from them. Not at all. So they will give you a sneak peek so you can see the gist of what's going on in your credit. And that is kind of what this is. Now, where the inaccuracies are, because a lot of people do not break that down. The inaccuracies only come from the credit scores. Why? Well, I'll tell you. Credit Karma uses the Vantage score. It still has the same 5 factors that FICO uses, but the way they distribute the percentages are different. So that is why your scores will not be the same. So this individual has a 714 and a 725. In actuality, if we were to go to TransUnion, this 714 would probably be a 698. This 725 would probably be a 705. Okay, so give or take 20 points is about the difference from the Vantage score to the credit score. So when people see scores posted of the Credit Karma, I'm not saying anything's bad about it. It is a good indicator of where you are around about score wise, but it is not accurate score wise. But the rest of the information is accurate. Okay, now why are there only 2 bureaus on here? Experian did not want to get down with this. They are the biggest of the 3. And I personally feel that when you're the big guy, you don't have to make deals with smaller guys. So TransUnion being our smallest, I knew they were probably going to jump in on it. Equifax is right there in the middle, so it just makes sense for them to jump on too. Experian does their own thing. So if you need to look at that report or your score, then you're going to have to go to Experian.com and register. But what I will say, because I do look at a lot of individuals' Credit Karma's reports. Even if Experian is not showing, just looking at these 2 bureaus tells me enough about you, the individual, and about what I think your credit report is going to look like. Now, yes, there are some companies that are going to probably be on Experian that's not going to be on TransUnion or Equifax. So if you are in the credit repair process, it is good to have all 3 so that everything can be getting disputed. But if not, here goes the trick, I'll tell you. So you actually can dispute what's on Equifax and what's on TransUnion. If you have not or do not have the money to see your Experian, what you do is you take the same items you're disputing from TransUnion and the same items that you're disputing from Equifax, and you put them together. Don't put the same ones. But if there's 2 over here that they don't have and there's 2 over here that they don't have, then put those all on your report and send it into Experian. And what's going to happen is when you do your disputes, Experian is going to reply to you to let you know that, hey, this account is not currently reporting. Fine. It'll say, well, this account is not currently reporting, but then one of the accounts that you are disputing is actually probably on there. When they send you that report back in the mail, that's the cheapest and freest way to see your report if you do not want to have to pay for it. Or you can go the long route and go to annualcreditreport.com, and that's if you want to actually mail to it to have it. That takes like 45 days. I just think that's way too long. Yes, you can do it online, but if you're not an individual that keeps your passwords and all of that, you're going to be stuck. So I would just say dispute those same items that you dispute here on TransUnion and Equifax, and then when you get your hard copy report back, that is how you'll know what is actually reported on there. Just keep that as your running report. You can just write on it. You can deduct from what's been deleted. And that is one cheap way to review your reports without having to pay. Okay, so now we're going to go into this individual's credit report. As you can see, there's been some recent changes here. So a lot of people do not pay attention to this button. This is, to me, one of the most important buttons they have on there, because when there's been changes or an increase in score, you need to know why. You don't just need to say, oh, my score went up. Look and see why. All right. Sometimes your score went up because you opened a new credit card. Sometimes your score went up because you got some items deleted, or vice versa. Something else changed. In this case, let's see. So in this case, a decrease in a balance, which is weird because it's an increase here, but it was an increase first. It was balance was decreased. The limit was decreased. So pretty much the limit went down, and maybe it's weird to see how they figured this out, because ultimately this account has been open, but weird things like this and your limit going down could be why you got 6 points. Now, this limit decrease could be that you, the consumer, paid your bill and your balance went down, or you had which it looks like here, your credit limit was amount and it went down by $1,600, and this is now the new balance. Now, normally that would make your score go the other way. It would be a reduction, because now that affects your utilization. But if your utilization probably was not affected, which obviously it wasn't, which is why this individual got an increase in points, because there was no effect to the utilization. All right. So that is always important to pay attention to, as to why that score changed. All right. Now you could do the same on Equifax, but there was no point increase. So we'll just keep going. All right. Credit factors. This tells me everything about you. All right. And so should also tell you a lot about yourself. So if this is not 100, this says that you mainly or majority 9 out of 10 times you pay your bills on time, but there is a indicator that you have missed a payment. Okay. That is all this means, is that you have missed a payment. All right. So they're letting you know that these have high impact on your scores if you've never paid attention to that before, but that is what that means. Here on your credit card use. So this individual, from looking at the percentage, they're responsible, because remember, we want 30% or less, and this individual has 4%. This is a high impact to your credit score, and this is saying this is why their score is in the 700s or very, very early stages of 700s, simply because they don't miss payments that often. If they did more than once, we don't know, but we haven't opened up the report yet. But they don't miss payments often, and this individual keeps their utilization low. Derogatory marks. All right. Now, what I don't like about this section is this only shows you if you have public records or collections. Okay. But what it does not tell you is if you have any charged off or closed accounts. Now, I know it says it right here, so you know what to expect. So if you see anything here, this just means collections or public records. All right. And public records are tax liens, bankruptcy, or civil judgments. Okay. But if you have a charged off or closed account, that's a derogatory mark too. I do not know why it does not pick that up as well. I think that this is a little misleading sometimes. But if you know how to read credit and credit reports, then you would know that you can't just go by this. So for you individuals who are looking at your credit reports and it has 4 things here, but you got like 7 charged off accounts, that's because they don't count them here. All right. Here goes another thing. Now, normally when I look at something like this, and I see a score that we saw, this would tell me that person probably got their score the way it is because they have used authorized user trade lines, because this is such a young credit age. But this is very misleading also. This person's credit age is actually 18 years old. But on here it says 2 years old, and I'll tell you why. This individual has filed bankruptcy before. And because they filed bankruptcy, although your credit age doesn't stop on your original credit reports, here on Credit Karma, it starts itself over. So this and this is just to the people who understand how to read credit, this will tell you one of 2 things. This person really does have young credit, or this person has applied for bankruptcy and now their credit age has started over. Okay. A lot of you probably didn't know that, but I'm just sharing it with you. And this does have a medium impact. I believe credit age is about 10% of your score. So no, I think it's 15%. So yes, it does matter. The older the credit, the better. Now, if you were to go into the actual credit reports from the bureaus, you would see that this person's credit age is much older than that, which helps support the score that they have. And no accounts were removed to make the age that way. Anytime a person files bankruptcy, it tells the system to start counting their credit age over from the date that they filed, that the bankruptcy hit their credit report. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you guys who are watching. All right. Total accounts. So they have 46 accounts. This is why I said that this was an indicator that this person with this young credit age, these are probably not authorized users. Because if you're going to have 46 accounts and you use authorized users because your age is young, you wouldn't have this many accounts. And 2, their score should be way higher than what it is if you have 46 accounts. Okay. So this is proof, again, that this individual filed bankruptcy at some time, well, actually 2 years, 11 months ago. These were the accounts that they had. They're still on the account. It's just the system started the clock over. All right. Inquiries. Now, this is pushing my max. My max of inquiries is actually 7. So I would suggest that this person actually decrease these inquiries. And if the inquiries that are currently reporting, if they do not match any accounts that are currently here, then you can delete. So I'll say that again. Inquiries come on your account because you apply for credit, right? If you don't get approved for that account that you applied for, those are the inquiries you want to delete. You cannot delete inquiries that are tied to any account that is currently open. Okay? Say that again. You cannot delete any inquiries that are tied to any account that is currently open, because the credit bureaus will contact that company and say that, hey, this person said that they did not apply for credit with you. And if you have a credit card with them already, and now you're alleging that you did not apply for that, that means you're alleging some type of fraud. That means that you stand the risk of having that card that you have open be closed. So please do not play around with trying to be smarter than these folks, okay? All right, let's go over to Equifax's really quick. All right, so as I stated before, there is no increase in score, so there's no sense of actually checking to see what has changed. But remember, this is a very important button. Okay, so here on the credit factors, same thing. This person is great with their payment history. They probably missed a payment or two. And I know you're probably saying, well, how can a person who filed bankruptcy actually have a 99% pay history? Easy. If you remove the bankruptcy from your account or from your credit report, and there are accounts that are currently reporting that state that they were included in the bankruptcy, you have a case to fight. You have a dispute. How can a case be included in the bankruptcy when there's no bankruptcy reported on my credit report? Think about it. All right. So you can do one of two things. You can either clean up that past credit history, because when you file bankruptcy, it goes back and it really zeroes out all your past credit history that's reporting, and it just shows $0. So it's very possible for this person to have a 99% pay history. No, it may not go back to 100% because, you know, maybe this person had a recent missed payment that we don't know about. We have not gone into the credit report yet. So there are a lot of little tricks to what you can do. But if you're asking yourself that, then there you go. All right. Credit card use. Now, this had 10%, the other had 4%. So this tells me that there are some accounts that are reporting on Equifax's, that are reported on TransUnion's credit report that are not reporting on Equifax. So if this happens to happen, you can do one or two things. You can contact the company that you find that is not reporting on both and ask them to report to Equifax also. If they say they are not, they don't have to. A lot of companies do not have the funds to pay and report to all of the credit bureaus. TransUnion, of course, is the smallest bureau. I'm sure it's probably the cheapest too to send in your information versus sending in all three. So that may be a reason also. But if you can always write the original creditor, the actual company. You don't write the credit bureaus. You write the company and ask them to report this trade line onto your credit report if they aren't already. And again, they don't have to, but there's no sense in letting it go by without asking. Again, this person has no derogatory remarks. Now, inquiries. Now, the other report had 6 and this has 1. What does this tell me? This tells me this individual is probably removing inquiries. And so far, they've been successful on Equifax and maybe just not TransUnion. Or it could mean that when they apply for credit, then the only credit report that those companies are pulling is TransUnion versus Equifax. That could mean that as well. So remember, and I always say this when it comes to credit, there's never one answer. There's always, it depends, because every situation is different. If anybody can tell you with 100% certainty that they can always give you a yes or a no answer when it comes to credit, they're probably lying, because not everything is yes or no. I know the rules and regulations say one thing, but what these credit bureaus actually do is completely different, okay? Here, number of accounts. TransUnion had 46. This has 44. That matches what we were talking about right here, that some accounts are not currently reporting, which could be why this utilization is a little higher than the other. So I'm just letting you guys know that this credit factor, this is like the most important section of your credit. I love it because it really just explains so much to you about yourself, and to someone who fixes credit, it explains so much about the person that you deal with, okay? Credit age, this says 3 years or 2 months, and I believe the other one said 2 years and 11 months. Now, this could be different due to bankruptcy also. right? But I know personally that this person filed for bankruptcy, and I know it was 2 years and 11 months ago. Now, the reason this could be different is because they did not remove one of the older accounts, which we would subtract 2 years and 11 months from this to see what the difference is, right? And just say it was 9 months difference. There's probably an account here, and we can tell there's a difference in the account because remember the other had 46 and this has 44. So there's an account that's probably reporting on Equifax, which is this account, which is this credit report. That isn't showing on TransUnion, that has that difference in age that's showing, which is why the credit age is different. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. So let me try to say that again. So whatever the difference in time, so this is 3 years and 2 months. The other was 2 years and 11 months. Let's say we're just going to say, for example, it's 9 months because I'm not doing that math right now. There is a difference in an account that's reporting that is 9 months is missing somewhere. So it's either added on here and not showing on TransUnion, which is why one is less than the other. It doesn't really matter here because this credit age is not right. No, you don't want to go and dispute this. It's not really important. What matters is what the credit bureaus say. So if the credit bureaus had 3 years and 2 months and you're like 50, there's a problem, okay? So here on Credit Karma, don't worry about it. But when it comes to the actual credit bureaus, that is the one that you want to make sure that the credit age is correct, all right? So next we're going to go into the credit reports. All right, so we're in the credit reports. So for the sake of privacy, I'm not going to get into the addresses or the name because really that's none of anybody's business. I'm grateful this individual allowed me to use their credit report just to show you guys what's going on in the first place. So the first thing I noticed, and I know this is all the time, anytime you are disputing your personal information on your credit report, whether that's your name, your address, how they have your social showing, which it doesn't show here in Credit Karma, but it does show on your actual credit reports. And you also can dispute your employment. One thing that I noticed is if you do not give them something else to put in its place, they will leave it blank. All right. So whether you know it or not, this is 1 point. So this person could be at a 726 versus a 725 just because they have information here. So where it says you have no employment on your information on your credit report, we don't like that. That's not necessarily derogatory, but that is something that I would look at as an indicator of places where you are missing points. And this is one place you are missing points. So get your 1 point by making sure you put something there. And no, you do not have to put where you work at. You can use overall generalizations. So if you're in the nursing field, put nursing. If you're in retail, put management. If you're in education, you could put, you can put management for all of it. That's one of my favorite terms to use. You don't have to put teacher, but you want to have something there. All right. So, and like I said, my go-to word is management. And nursing. Those are probably the two that I use. There's so many nurses that I deal with, so those are like the ones I always use. So anyway, just an overall generalization, anything. You don't have to put McDonald's. You don't really want that on your application anyway. You got to remember, people look at this and yeah, they're not supposed to technically make judgments about where you work and all that type of stuff, but they do, I think. So you don't have to tell them where you work. It's none of their business. You work in retail. Your customer service, whatever. All right. So let's move on. All right. So here on Credit Karma, this is where your repos are, people. Here in the first section of auto loans, this person doesn't have any repos. But we are going to go into this because it's a closed account because I want to show you guys how to look at it. So I normally, open up all of these blue marks. I'm not going to do this today, but I just want to show you some that you should look at. So this is what normally would happen or what would look like if a person filed a bankruptcy. As you notice, there's like nothing there. No info, nothing really matches. This person was never late, but yet instead they have a couple little marks here. It's just bogus. They don't keep up with it, but this is usually what happens after a person filed bankruptcy. Things zero out. You get to keep that credit history, which is all that matters. So they get to keep this 8 years and 3 months. This is proof that the numbers that we saw earlier do not match, which is why I say don't worry about the credit age here on Credit Karma because it's not correct most of the time anyway. That depends on your situation, okay? So I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you file bankruptcy. Another thing that's super important is a lot of people don't know this is the phone number and address. So if you have issues, you don't have to write them all the time. Sometimes they put the phone number. You can call and get assistance right away. All right. But when it comes to credit matters or you're asking anybody to do anything for you, remember these companies don't owe you anything. They're not your friends, which is why you always want to do things or get things in writing. So if you're going to go through the time to call and contact them, you just make sure that no matter what, you're going to tell them, hey, I want to follow this up with something in writing. And you guys can send something to me, or I'm going to send something to you. Let me get your name, your employee number, blah, 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 because that's really the only thing you have to go on is your word and what's in black and white. And when it comes to court, your word means nothing. What you have in black and white means everything. All right, especially when you're trying to sue somebody. Okay, moving on. Credit cards. So these are all the trade lines that this individual has. Now, trade lines aren't just credit cards. They're also this auto loan. They're also student loans, and trade lines are any of that. But people who are in the trade line business or trying to make, sell trade lines, they use that to make you think it's just credit cards, but it's not just credit cards. But for intents and purposes, we're just going to say trade lines here to keep it with language that you already know. All right, so let's find one. So they all have zero balances, which is great. Let me open up one that has a zero balance. Okay, so this one is this one open? Let's see here. Yeah, it's open. Its last payment was in December 2019, and the last reporting was January 2020. Now, if you have an account that is open that is not reporting, or say you have a zero balance and it's not reporting, you can contact them and ask them to update the reporting on your file. You can also dispute the account with the credit bureaus and tell them you want them to update because it's not reflecting payments. So I don't like blank spots. I mean, I know we're just in February, right? So, they haven't had a chance to report for February yet, but I just say it was April. I don't like blank spots. They would have to put something there for me, whether it's no data or something, just blank spots. To me, always give room for somebody to ask questions. So if they're sporadically putting green check marks and then 3 months go by and there's nothing. And then, you might get one, you might not get one. I would stay on top of that to make sure the company is reporting every month, because missing information is just more stuff for you to explain. And it actually hurts you as the consumer. You want someone to see that you are making your payments every month. Okay. All right. Let's go to a needs attention. Hold on. Before I do that, let me see if there's anything derogatory. So this person really does have all those accounts, right? All of the, look at that. That's wonderful. Navy, Federal, they have all those wonderful accounts are all closed. Let me see if there's any derogatory. There isn't. I wanted to show you guys what a derogatory would look like, but I don't think this person has any. But let me show you something else that I want you guys to know. A lot of people don't know. How many of you knew that you can remove remarks? A lot of people do not know that. So remark is something that when an individual disputes something, say you use that something is inaccurate. Inaccurate may transfer over to be a 01 on the dispute code list. Okay. And I did talk about this in another one of my videos. There is actually a dispute codes list that, no, we don't put the codes down on the paper. We actually list what our items are that we're disputing and why. But when the individuals who work at these credit bureaus, when they're in the system, they don't go to Jared and say, hey, this person said inaccurate. This person is claiming 01 or 055 or 054 or whatever that dispute code matches up to based off of what you're disputing. Okay. So when the company, the original creditor, replies, they will reply and say this account was closed, but it was closed at the consumer's request. So they may respond with a 33, and then they may put a 33H or something, and that code would mean would transfer through the e-Oscar system and tell the credit bureaus that not only is this account closed, but it was closed based off what the consumer wanted. Well, that's great, but that's nobody's business again. So this can be removed. There are a lot of times I will right into the credit bureaus, and I will just put on my dispute that I want all remarks deleted. I didn't ask for them to be there. You don't want them to be there, especially if you're trying to buy a home and you have those remarks that state that you were trying to dispute. It would say account recently in dispute, settled through FCRA. You don't want that. Banks don't want to see any open disputes, so they like you to go back and actually have those things removed. So I actually would have no remarks if you could stand it. Only thing that needs to report is that the account is closed, it's open, and I'm paying on time. All right, let's move on. So these are the other loans. All right, so other loans could be, they're usually loans that come from personal finance companies, like your, if you have Self-Lender. Self-Lender is now lead bank. So they fall into this category versus up here with credit cards because it's not a credit card. That's what other loans. I do not know why Discover Bank is down here, because Discover Bank should be up top because it is a credit card. But again, this goes to show you how some things can show inaccurately. Again, this account has no info, probably due to a bankruptcy, and it is misplaced on the file, and that's okay. Now down here, let's see, we got some closed. Let's see what else is down here. All right, so you also have your student loans, okay? They were hidden, but they're all closed. And yes, student loans can be included in the bankruptcy. I know people say no, they can be, but they usually are very, very, very difficult to get taken off. You have to be experiencing a real extreme hardship for these to come off. But maybe this was included in the bankruptcy because, again, it has no information. All right, they're all just no info. But that's good. It's not bad. The score, it looks good. The credit report looks good. Other than some remarks I would probably have removed, this isn't that bad. All right, so we're going to get here to the real estate loans. Now, this shows me that this individual has had 2 mortgages at some point, which is that's not a bad thing. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so here goes why the difference of the 99 versus the 100%. So when I see spaces like this, remember, this is what I was talking about. You don't want these types of gaps. These would be things that you would go back and dispute to have them fill in this information. Now, if you know in 2018 you made no payments at all, don't dispute it, because you're going to hurt yourself and they're going to bring back all those no payments, and it's actually going to drop your score. Okay, so we can look here. Most of those had no info, but this is a good one to be able to understand how this worked. But this means a person was late twice. They were 30 days late twice. They were 60 days late 3 times, and they were 90 days late 9 times. Now, how can that be? Well, that means that person could have made a payment 1 month, was late the next month, made a payment 1 month, was late for 3 months, then they caught up again, and so when you see things like this, I know most people go, well, this house should be in foreclosure. Well, not necessarily. A lot of times this 90 days late could be because they sporadically miss payments. This happens. This is normal. That's why I wanted to use a credit report like this, because I didn't want to get a perfect credit report. We want one that looks mostly like how a lot of people's look. All right. So this person isn't perfect. Of course, again, now look at all these missed payments, but that person only has a 99% missed payment rate. So it goes to show you that late payments don't matter after a certain amount of time. They don't weigh as heavily on your score as they once did. Now, these here in 2019 are probably still having somewhat of an effect, but not these from so long ago. All right. Okay, so that's that one inquiry we saw. There are no collections and there are no public records, which is great. Another thing I want you guys to pay attention to is really this view past credit reports tab here. Very, very important, because if you ever want to fight your credit bureau, not the credit bureau, if you ever want to fight the original creditor by the information that they put on your credit report is inaccurate, you can always pull up your old credit reports here, print those out, and now show what it's showing now to show that, hey, back in whatever date, and they do let you pick a date. I do like that they really let you pick a date. And if you notice, it goes back by when I'm looking at these dates, anytime there's been a change in something, That's why these new reports are generated. It used to be like every couple days they would show, but every time there's been a change, that is why there's a new report. So you definitely should use this tool to your benefit, because you can definitely catch some creditors lying and you have proof. All right. So this is, again, just that overview that we saw earlier with the 1 inquiry to 44 accounts. This is letting this here is another section that I do like. It shows you how many accounts are over the limit of 30%. Now, we saw no utilization that was over 30%, right? We didn't see any, but we're going to go and see what they show us here. All right, so this is that same account that they went down on the score on here. And this is showing that this person has used 57% of that card. And the reason why, and I'm going to tell you why the utilization is only showing 4% back on the original credit factors page, that's simply because this person must have some accounts that are reporting that actually have a zero balance, which is actually helping them keep their overall utilization together. Now, when we're going to go back here for a second. All right, this shows you how many accounts are really over 30%, right? But on that page that we saw with the credit factors, that shows you your overall, all of the cards together. So if you want to get what your overall percentage is, you could go to that credit factors page. But if you want to know which accounts are really over, you can go right here and you can see, and you see they have 2. Missed payments. All right. So we knew there were missed payments, that we already knew. It shows you how many payments you missed in the past. And we'll click on this. It's probably, I don't know if it's accurate or not. So there goes one that was missed, and that counts back in 2017. Okay, so it's going to show you which accounts are closed. Now, these accounts are closed, right? This account was closed, and it has 14 missed payments. Now, yes, if you can get these accounts deleted, your percentage on the overall credit factors will change. So if we took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 accounts off, right? That person would go from that 99% paid to 100%. So it can't change if it's still showing that there are late payments. No, it may not affect your score that much, but it does affect those factors. And these are some of the things that banks do look at, not just your scores, okay? Remarks. So there's 21 remarks. Okay, so remember, you guys can have remarks removed. Okay, so this is one way that you can see if the creditors or the credit bureaus, because that's who I actually would dispute this with. I would have the credit bureaus remove them, and you can monitor how many remarks. If you have 21 now and you dispute, they should be going down. You do not have to keep remarks on your credit report. And if they do want to keep remarks, then you can search through that remarks code, which goes with the disputes codes, and you can actually tell them what you want listed. You can do that too. Recently closed. This just shows you accounts that were closed. And it just, same thing. It just shows you what accounts were recently closed. Those accounts probably are also fed into this remarks comment, because a lot of them are probably going to say closed at consumer's request or closed at the lender's request. There's only one inquiry because we're on the Equifax, not the TransUnion, and it's saying no recent activity. So this is just the one that has needs attention. So if you ever need to get a little bit more information on why it says needs attention, you can also find out in this section. And this is just saying, hey, it needs attention because it just hasn't had any information in a while. And remember what I said, we don't like blank reports or blank spaces. We need stuff to specify things. All right. Please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you guys' support. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.